Welcome back to our series going through the Wise Traditions Dietary Principles from the 11 Dietary Principles, a Wise Traditions book by the Weston A. Price Foundation. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Amanda Willis. I empower families to wellness authentically through biblically rooted principles. And one of the series that we have been working on here on this channel is making our way through these real food principles. And I'm super excited to share dietary principle number 6 with you today. This is one that I have been baby stepping myself for a very long time. So it's one that you can kind of take one little step and then add another little step. I feel like that's the most sustainable way to do some of these things. But I have noticed a huge difference in my digestion and my energy and even just my tolerance of some of these foods by following this principle. And that is to prepare seeds, grains, and nuts properly to minimize anti-nutrients and enhance digestibility. So this means taking seeds, grains, nuts, and soaking, sprouting, or fermenting them, or naturally leavening them, so like a sour leavening, to neutralize naturally occurring anti-nutrients such as enzyme inhibitors, tannins, and phytic acid. So there's been a huge trend, I want to say recently, but it's recently in my adult life. I feel like it's actually been going on a long time. But in the recent, I would say maybe 15 years, there has been an increasing number of people that have noticed an intolerance to grains, an intolerance even to nuts and seeds and beans and things like that. And you've seen the rise of some diets that eliminate these things completely. However, because on this channel, we view things through a biblical lens, if you go back into scripture and you take a look at what everybody was eating, I mean, Jesus called himself the bread of life. You look at the diets, they were eating tons of bread, right? They were regularly consuming bread. It wasn't something that was just, oh, this was brought in recent years. Like, this was something that people were eating and you didn't hear them talking about digestive issues, right? And Jesus wouldn't have called himself the bread of life, the staff of life, if that wasn't something that actually like nourished you and fed you, right? So there's something in the way that we have been, it's a combination of things really, but the way that we have been raising grains, you do have to be cautious with non-organic grains these days, because as of the time of recording this video, at least, one of the common practices is to desiccate or dry out the grain with glyphosate. So not only are they spraying glyphosate on the grains as they are growing them, which some of that does dissipate with rain and sun exposure and that sort of thing, but also immediately after harvest, they're being sprayed with lots of glyphosate, which then is packaged. That grain is then packaged immediately. So this has not had a chance to weather the elements, nothing like that. So there's massive amounts of glyphosate on these grains that are then coming into our homes. So it is one of the areas where I really, really, really try to prioritize organic, kind of no matter what. It's a non-negotiable in our house because of that reason. And I've noticed when we purchase organic and when I follow the principle of soaking, sprouting, fermenting, natural leavening, I can digest bread really well. We feel really good on the breads. However, when we eat bread out, when we get other things that have stabilizers and things in them as well, but even if I make regular yeasted bread, I don't feel as good as when it's truly long fermented, sour leavened, and traditionally prepared, because that's how grains are broken down. So the phytic acid in the grains, it's an enzyme inhibitor. And what that does is it binds up minerals and it prevents your body from being able to absorb those minerals super well. So it's something that a lot of times you get with the phytic acid, the lectins, things like that, that are your quote unquote anti-nutrients, are what cause you to feel bloated after you've had beans or things like that. So soaking your beans is a really simple process. Just put them in some water with a tiny bit of acid, something like whey or lemon juice or apple cider vinegar, something like that will help to just break those things down. Soak them for overnight, or you can continue it on and sprout them, rinse them. You can rinse them and continue until they sprout. And then you can dehydrate them if you're not ready to use them yet, or go ahead and cook them at that point. I usually just soak mine honestly for about 12 hours. and then I will pressure can them. Now, that is not an official Weston A. Price recommendation. But I have found that something in the pressure canning actually helps the digestion as well. So I think it helps to even further break down some of those anti-nutrients. And we do a much better job digesting our beans if they are soaked and then pressure canned. So we do that. Then our rice, anytime I'm using a brown rice, you don't want to eat brown rice just straight off the shelf. There's a lot of those, that phytic acid and the enzyme inhibitors in there. And so what ends up happening is, though the brown rice has lots of nutrients in it, your body can't absorb any of them, and it just causes a lot of issues in digestion. So if instead you soak that brown rice, I actually have a video on here how to get kind of fluffy brown rice, and I will try to remember to link that in the comments or in the description for you down below, because when you follow that and you soak them with just a little bit of whey, and we reserve our liquid there, it actually breaks them down, breaks that brown rice down so that it becomes kind of fluffy, but you actually then can absorb those nutrients and it doesn't hinder anything as well. Of course, we also love to then cook it with bone broth, which gets some more nutrients in there as well, and enhances the flavor too. So tell me, friends, what are you soaking? What are you sprouting? What have you found beneficial for you throughout that process and that has been helpful? Or what has held you up? What questions do you have that maybe you're like, I would really like to do this, but I'm not sure about X, Y, or Z? Tell me in the comments and let's help each other out and see if we can get past some of those stumbling blocks and implement this dietary principle into our lives so that we can actually enjoy the nuts, grains, and seeds and things the way that God intended us to. So until next time, take care, friends. Cheers.